So the first thing I would say to those of you who want to study language is recognize its complexity. You have been endowed with a system that no other species on Earth has. Its complexity is overwhelming. And to understand, as Noam Chomsky always said, the architecture of language is to understand the architecture of the human mind itself.
Busca la oportunidad de ser lingüista ancho y no lingüista así narrow, estricto. Pues es posible encontrar tantos especialistas que no saben nada fuera de la especialización, y no solamente para estudiantes, pero para profesores también. Es fundamental tener y cuidar este interés en las otras partes de la disciplina, y hasta que fuera de la disciplina, como antropología o como psicología cognitiva, intereses más amplios así crean conexiones entre las patrones que se ven en lingüística. Es no concentrarse demasiado en una cosa solamente.
So I would say beginners in research should learn a variety of techniques and approaches. Even if you're a committed theoretician, learn something about experiments, about statistics, about modeling, and conversely. Even if you have no intention of being a theoretician, for example, learn something about theory.
Familiarize yourself with multiple theoretical perspectives. Every theory offers unique insights into the nature of language, but no theory has a monopoly on those insights or a monopoly on truth about the nature of language. Familiarize yourself with a typologically diverse range of languages. Even if you're not a typologist and are working on a single language, could even be your native language, the insights you gain will be valuable and your results will be more substantial.
And I also think it's important for your careers to reach out to other domains of cognitive science, not only talk to linguists, but also talk to other fields of cognitive science, people from other experimental psychology, computer science, neuroscience, and so on and so forth.
I would advise young linguists to try to read widely. That is, try to learn from as many disciplines as possible. Take more classes outside of linguistics to enrich your experience, to diversify your perspectives, your opinions, and simply to learn tools that would be very beneficial when applied to the domain of language. And maybe people haven't thought of applying those tools yet to language, and that's an opportunity for young linguists to do so.
Let me assure you, acquiring skills, quantitative skills that would include statistical methods, etc., discourse quantitative methods, these are essential tools for the linguist of the future, probably whatever area you're working in, but certainly if you want to work in linguistic typology.
Que no se limite al estudio de la lingüística, sino que incorpore fonética, sociolingüística, estadísticas, así como la experimentación cognitiva y la traducción simultánea.
La sociedad actual, una sociedad que exige una reflexión cada vez más importante sobre el discurso. En este ámbito hay mucho trabajo que queda por hacer. Yo creo que vas a sobrevivir si eres capaz de adaptar, de ajustar tus conceptos, tus métodos a fenómenos nuevos. El verdadero en ese discurso no es una persona que es especialista de tal o tal fenómeno. Claro que lo es, pero no es solo eso. Es una persona que es capaz de reflexionar sobre qué es un género, qué es un texto, cómo se adaptan los géneros al área, etc. Es decir, que si no mantienes una cierta distancia con los fenómenos, será muy difícil adaptarte a un mundo que está siempre transformándose.
Relacionar un análisis preciso, sistemático y explícito que la gente de ciencias sociales no hace y no pueden hacer, pero nosotros también con una relevancia y una responsabilidad, compromiso sociopolítico que me parece muy importante.
Be original. And that means start collecting. Keep a sharp eye and ear open for examples of usage in your own local world and the languages that you encounter there. Your family, friends, school, shops, streets, social media, or if you go on holiday, if that's still allowed these days, in these pandemic days. There's nothing impresses an examiner more, well, so they tell me, than reading something in an answer that they've never seen before, as long as it's relevant to the question, of course.
Try to find a niche for yourself that's not already occupied by 5,000 other people. At the same time, of course, also it doesn't help if you do something which no one else is working on, because then you're the only fish in the pond.
First of all, remember to start small. So the field can be daunting. There's a lot of work out there, but remember that even seemingly very small puzzles can turn out to have larger, more interesting consequences. Also to ask lots of questions. So nobody is expected to know everything from the beginning, and linguistics is a young field. There are many areas where there isn't a right or a wrong answer that everybody agrees about.
The question of how many questions to ask is central to the endeavor of science in general and of syntax in particular. And one of the big differences between better work and less good work is how many questions do you keep asking? When do you stop asking questions? And as you can see from Chomsky's recent work, the answer is never.
Whatever you want to do, if you spend a lot of time getting to know a language, either documenting it yourself or even just getting immersed in textual stuff, so not just reading a grammar, if you really go into depth and get a sense of how people use this language and what it is, I think you're a different kind of linguist. My advice would be, whatever you end up doing, get to know something really, really well. And of course, if you're documenting it, then that's a great service to everybody else too.
So my advice would to have a solid background in language comparison and to use this background to carry out cross-linguistic language acquisition research.
I have a strong bias in that, and that is my advice is be sure to do language acquisition and do language acquisition research. That's what I would truly say.
My advice to someone starting out in linguistics is to work on natural language, not on theory, and trust the language. Do not try to force the language into any kind of preconceived notions. Don't start with a theory and then look at the language. Start with the language and work inductively. The theory will arise from your understanding. This is a true empiricist approach. When you do that, you will see that there's no equivalence across languages. You come to understand that you even think and perceive the world differently in different languages. The major challenge for those trained in structural linguistics is overcoming that training and learning to see languages as they are without imposing anything on the language.
Take the field forward in a more empirical and a more empirically responsible direction by collecting data and by analyzing it not from the point of view of a formal theory, but from the point of view of, theory is important, but you develop your theory to explain data. You don't start with a formal theory and try to fit the data into it, which is what I think happens quite a lot with generative grammar.
No seguir a mí, no seguir a gente famosa, buscar un tema que otra gente no está trabajando. Cita más una tesis doctoral de un estudiante perdido en Suecia o en el sur de Argentina que en las grandes capitales de Europa, etc. Busca relacionar siempre con la vida cotidiana que está lleno de problemas que todo el mundo tiene.
Never do anything because somebody says this is going to be important in the next 10 years. Follow your nose and talk to as many people as possible. Whatever you do, you want to do it with the appropriate training. And that is also an important advice. Learn as much as possible.
I think being able to think about science, think about language, think about linguistics in this world is really a luxury. So we should do something we enjoy. So I suppose the advice would be do what you enjoy doing within the field of linguistics, even when that may not be a very popular topic, but at least it's something you should feel passionate about.
I think the advice for anyone doing any research is do what you find interesting. Research can be painful sometimes. And then writing can be equally painful. You're writing and you're writing, you're like, oh my God, more words, you know. So I think because of that, you need to do something which really calls to you, which you really want to do. So that the joy of it, the fun of it, takes you through the pain of it.
One thing that young researchers have to have in mind is that research is not something that we can do separately from who we are. Being a scientist and being in academia is something that does not give us a lot of money, does not make us really famous. So it has to give us something, it has to have some advantage. And I believe that this advantage is pleasure.
Don't be afraid of challenges. Actually, in Portuguese, there is this word, encarar, just face them as they come, because that's something that may actually bring excitement to your life and to the life of others.
El principal consejo que yo daría, que doy a cualquier estudiante, es que le guste mucho lo que hace, que lo disfrute, que realmente lo ame, porque si no amas este tipo de trabajo, sobre todo en el mundo académico, que es tan complicado, adquirir el nivel de sacrificio que es necesario para cosas como hacer una tesis doctoral, publicar, pues no es posible.
Meu conselho geral é procure o que te desperte paixão. Fazer ciência, no mais das vezes, uma atividade árida, mas a paixão abre portas para que se veja beleza atrás das coisas mais inusitadas. Então é um exercício bastante interessante você se perguntar qual dessas paixões é a que te move. Lembrando que uma paixão não exclui a outra. Identifique a sua paixão ou as suas paixões e mãos à obra. Né? Está tudo por ser feito, esperando por vocês.
Es verdad que para ser lingüista uno tiene que ser un poco enamorado del lenguaje y preocuparse relativamente poco de que nunca va a ser rico. Yo ahí sí que le diría a la gente que hagan lo que están haciendo ustedes, es decir, que nos llamen a todos, que nos escriban. Esto para mí no solo no es una molestia, sino que es ir pasando la antorcha para que ustedes puedan hacer lo mismo. Yo siempre digo, la única condición que pongo para dar mi tiempo es que cuando a usted le toque y le llamen dentro de 30 años o cuando sea, que haga exactamente lo mismo. Entonces continuamos con este mensaje al infinito, ¿no?